All right, folks. I had to put on my Stranger Things shirt to review season 5 of Stranger Things, or at least the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things, which we binge watched on Sunday, which was yesterday, right? Today's Monday. Um, Chris and I just set the whole afternoon aside and we watched all 4 of the episodes back to back. And rather than doing an individual review of each episode, I'm just going to do the whole block. This final season, this is it. Everything's on the line. We are doing a 4 episode block, a 3 episode block, and then a single episode to wrap it all up. I believe the 3 episode block happens on Christmas, and then on the 31st, on New Year's Eve, we get the final chapter. Um, I think it comes as no surprise that Vecna, we knew that he wasn't dead. Um, I do think that the reveal at the very end of episode 4 was fucking fire. By the way, guys, I'm not doing spoiler free, so if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it and come back. Um, I feel like the crux of this whole 4 episode arc was we start off with a flashback scene where they used CGI to, give us a younger Will, dealing with his trauma at the very beginning, being the first one that Vecna um, tapped into. And then the final sequence of episode 4 when Will full on goes wide eyed and becomes the sorcerer, essentially. Literally, the name of that final episode of chapter 4 of season 5 is Sorcerer, right? And he becomes Vecna's arch enemy, essentially, and has the same powers as Vecna, or at least can control the Demogorgons, and he causes them to explode. And snaps their bones and necks and everything else. It was the coolest fucking sequence ever, to see all that go down. But there was a lot that happened. I was really, really, really appreciative of the fact that they somehow managed to take A Wrinkle in Time and put that book into the arc, because D&D has been a heavy part of this show as well. But if you've never read A Wrinkle in Time, that is a phenomenal, like, you know, seminal. I would call that just a novel that you need to read if you like science fiction and fantasy. That's like definitely one of those novels from the 80s. That's just a lot of fun, and it's sort of a kid's book, but also has some adult themes. But it ties into some of the stuff that's going on here. Um, all right, major plot sequences of this first arc is that Hopper is in hiding with um, 11, and he's training her and she's learning how to use her powers. The military is searching for her, but the military is also um, they have a base inside of the Upside Down, and they have somebody on location who we are led to believe is Vecna. Turns out it's not, but I didn't. I that was a plot twist I didn't see coming. But it's Linda Hamilton plays the crazy psychopath like military scientist who's like in charge of the whole thing, and she really wants to trap 11. And they've developed these like anti-psychic weapons that they're using to like nullify her powers, and they're seeking down her. So the military is searching for 11. Um, Will, Lucas, and Mike have been laying low during the military occupation, and they've been doing these runs with Hopper to go through and essentially look for Vecna. And the are basically every time there's a military convoy that comes in to go drive supplies into the military bases on the other side, Hopper hitches a ride on the military convoy and sneaks over to the other side and does a recon. And he's done like 30 plus missions, and he's been looking for signs of Vecna while um, 11 has been training this whole time. Dustin is constantly provoking the jocks, who, hate the Hellfire Club and Eddie and everything else, to the point where there's a moment when he's supposed to be helping the rest of the group while Hopper's getting ready to do this run, and gets the shit beat out of him at Eddie's grave. And as a result, things go horribly wrong in the first episode, and Hopper gets trapped in the other side. Um, it's crazy. Will starts having these telepathic events, and we come to find out over the course of the episodes that what he is seeing is actually he is seen through the eyes of the victims of Vecna, but he's actually seen through Vecna's eyes. So we know Vecna is out there, even though they can't find him. And what Vecna appears to be doing is kidnapping these children, who, like Will, Will was the first, and then that showed Vecna what was possible. So now he's collecting all of these other children to expand his power. And once they figure this out, it becomes the mission to save these kids from Hawkins. And there's a lot of shenanigans that happen over the course of like the episodes as they attempt to keep the kids safe. Uh, but essentially, when we get into at the end of episode one, the Demigorgon, heads towards the Wheeler residence, and goes for the youngest sister Holly, who's Mike and Nancy's younger sister, and takes her right, and takes her off to meet um, this man who she's come to know as Mr. What's It, but it's Henry, and this is Vecna in his human form, and he puts her in this house in this dreamscape and tells her, "Don't leave. I trust you. I'm gonna go get these other kids and bring them back." That's useful because she gets a letter, there's a knock on the door, and she, of course, doesn't go to the door because she's afraid and she's been told not to go to the door, but she eventually decides to follow because the letter says, "Hey, this is Henry. Come help me. I'm trapped." She follows it, and we end up um, meeting. Oh, why am I blanking on her? Max, the red-haired girl who's in a coma, and turns out that this landscape that the girl is in, that Holly is Vecna's own memories. And Max has been trapped in here. She's in a coma in the real world, and she's been able to hear the music whenever is it Eddie? It's hard to remember all the kids' names. Um, or Mike. No, Mike is the skinny kid. Who the heck is the? I'm gonna. I'm horrible at names here. All these kids. Uh, it's Lucas. My bad. Um, Lucas has been playing her music, and she's been able to hear the music, and it's been helping her get through this nightmare scape. But she always ends up meeting Vecna at some point until she finds this like cave that Vecna is afraid to enter. And she sees his face and realizes he's afraid, so she's been hiding in this place, which is at the edge of like the property where he took Holly. And she convinces Holly that, hey, Vecna's not really, that Henry guy is not good. I've been kidnapped and everything else. But you're going to have to go back to the house and pretend like you don't know me. And together we're going to figure out how to get out of here together. It's crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Um, Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. The Demigorgon fight scenes are great. Like when the kids decide that they're going to take on the Demigorgon and track it back to Vecna's lair. Um, they rig the house Home Alone style, which is pretty freaking awesome. And they battle one of the Demigorgons, and it goes back. They end up going. Everybody ends up on the other side. Like everybody ends up in the upside down by the end of the fourth episode, and then they end up coming. Some of them are back. But there is a sequence where they're chasing the injured Demigorgon through the upside down, and they end up encountering this wall, which is this giant wall that seems to be on the inside, which is impenetrable. And the military seem to know something about it, but nobody else does. Um, Dustin ends up figuring out that using um, triangulation, figures out that it's this circular wall that surrounds everything, and it's centered at this lab, which is where the original everything started, right? And this is where they suspect Hopper and 11 suspect inside of this military base on the other side is where Vecna is being held. But they get inside and they realize that the captive is Callie, which is the sister of 11, which is the only other surviving Hawkins lab subject, and which is crazy. Everything ultimately culminates in this massive fight sequence on the other side when we realize that Vecna's not who they've had trapped inside the military base, but the other companion to 11. And then Vecna comes through the portal with just dozens of demigorgons and just starts slaughtering everybody, right? Um, and as this is happening, Vecna literally like comes up to Will and thanks Will for being the first, and thanks him for teaching him how to create these perfect vessels out of these innocent children to reshape the world as he sees fit. And then he disappears, and as he disappears, Will has this moment where he just, and then suddenly he has powers just like 11, and controls the Demigorgons and saves everyone from being killed. And it's freaking epic. Like his eyes go all white, cloudy, and he's like Vecna with his hands and dude, it's so cool. Like, um, I think there's in between, obviously, because I'm compacting like 4 episodes into like one review here. There's a lot of character composition here. Um, Specifically with, we get basically one episode with Max, Maya Hawke as Robin Buckley, whose character is a complicated character in the fact that she's a lesbian in a time when lesbianism is, frowned upon significantly. And there's this one scene where she has a heart to heart with Will about accepting who he is, just like she had when she was struggling with her identity until she finally just accepted who she was and embraced it, and it suddenly felt like she had superpowers and she became free. And that speech is what resonates through Will's head when he decides to embrace this new power that he's unleashed within himself. Um, it's just it was a good time. Like this has definitely been a great show from start to finish. Chris and I have followed this together ever since it started, and I don't feel like I have ever seen a bad episode of Stranger Things. Like they have kept the episodes tight. It's obviously not a show. It hasn't been rushed to production. There have been pretty significant breaks in between the seasons. The kids are all grown up now. But this episode, Murray is back, by the way, as Mr. Smuggler, and he's so hilarious, smuggling things in for them past the military blockade. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I just think this was back to back, just good fun, and also great special effects, and just seeing where the kids have come since they were, little children, and now maturing into young adults, and on screen, but also in real life. But in looking at the complicated relation that Hopper has with 11, and him seeing her finally come into her own, and there's a moment where he's, willing to sacrifice himself to save her, and ultimately it doesn't come to that. But when he's going through that moment and he's flashing back to his own daughter dying of cancer. I mean, it's just, there's some really emotionally impactful moments in this show, but also great humor, great fun, and just classic adventure, which is what Stranger Things has always been about. So, um, chef's kiss. I have nothing bad to say about this first block of episodes, and I cannot wait for Christmas for the next 3 episodes, and then of course the season finale on Christmas Eve. So stay tuned, everybody, because there's more coming. Let me know your thoughts on these 4 episodes in the comments below, and I'll see everybody in the next one.